Good morning, everybody. It's me, Heather Nichols, for the Tailored Expressions Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, me today, but I know we've got some Tailored Expressions folks in the background too. I'm sure Whitney's in there, and who else? You never know who's going to show up in the chat, you guys. So good morning. It's kind of fun. I can see everybody kind of popping into the video chat before I hit my live button and see you saying good morning and happy crafty friends from Rachel and Susan. Good morning from Silver Bay. So it's good to see you all, and it's always fun to see you all start popping in. And I see you, Lori Craig. We were chatting this morning. And I didn't tell you, Lori, we're going to use OLO today. So we were talking about cross-stitch stuff this morning. We weren't talking about cards, but you know, we talk about everything. So good morning, everybody. It's very chilly here in Minnesota, and actually it's going to get colder this weekend, and it's very snowy. This is a super snowy winter up here in Minnesota, and I know other places are getting hit as well. We have had a couple of mild winters, and this snow, it hit us the week of Thanksgiving, and it is not quitting. I think we've had some form of snow every day this week. So we have been shoveling our hearts out and trying to stay warm and all of that. So it's good to see all of you popping in this morning. Good morning, Holly and Denise and Louise. It's good to see all of you guys too. I'm glad to be back with live. I know that I was back a few weeks ago in November. We've got the tech part, I think, figured out, which makes me so happy because I miss seeing you guys live. So I'm happy to be with you this morning. So goodness, good morning. Lots of you popping in. Good morning, Trina. It's so good to see all of you. So let's talk about what's going on in Tailored Expressions this week. It is our Cute Combos release, and this has become kind of a December tradition in Tailored Expressions world, is we give you guys a whole bunch of cute little sets that are themes that maybe we had ideas for, but maybe not for a whole collection. And so it's super fun to, I don't know, try out some different things and see what you guys like, and it gives you some more things for your collection to stamp with too. I illustrated 3 sets for this release, and I hope you guys like them. The turtle and the daisies, which we're going to be crafting with today, and then also the little science set, which if you remember my Halloween set with all the potion bottles and things like that, we had numerous people say, oh, it'd be so fun to have some sciencey add-ons to that. And so this is kind of what that is. It gives you some different pieces to play with that. So if you stop by my blog, you saw all of that. There are some videos out this week. Of course, Tailored had her live on Tuesday. She made that cute little smiley face card. I loved her color combination with that. I am so into color combinations lately. It's just a thing. We'll talk about that more as the weeks go by, but it's just been my life lately is color combinations. I don't know. And trying new colors and all of that. Maybe that's what 2026 is going to be for me, is crafting with out of the box with colors that I wouldn't normally use. In fact, the card today is a color that I wouldn't typically pick to use. So yeah, it's going to be, I just totally lost my train of thought. The color combos, Tailored video, Tuesday, I'm back. All right, so if you stop by our YouTube channel, we have videos up on there. There's 3 videos this week on our YouTube channel. We had Joy on Tuesday, and then yesterday Thierry was on, and then today we have Alicia, I'm so sorry, I never say it right. She is on today. So make sure you stop in and get all the inspiration. So that was with Counting My Video, we've got 5 videos out this week, which covers quite a few of the sets that are released this week. So some of you are talking about you're coming to Minnesota to babysit. Gail, it's cold up here. Make sure you wear your woolies. I am layered up. I have got pants on that are lined with fleece. You just got to dress for the weather up here. And I'm layered up. I've got all the layers, the vests, and everything like that. It's very, very chilly. So, yes, but welcome to Minnesota. We are happy to have you up here. Yes, Donna's worried about the snow in Minnesota. Yeah, you know, there's been some travel things. So anyway, let's get back on track. So Cute Combos this week, if you purchase 4 or more of the sets, it's 15% off. And then there's also that nice convenient I want it all button if you want all of those Cute Combo sets. So that's what's going on this week. So tomorrow, how many of you have the Advent calendar? I have the Advent calendar, and a couple, Jill and Lori, we chat quite a bit online, and they also have the Advent calendar. And isn't this year's an amazing advent calendar. I think we said to Taylor, I said, can we nominate what we want to join the actual collection from this advent calendar? And I can tell you that little snowman from last week, that was amazing. That's my favorite so far. Plus the tags and all of that stuff that's come out that, and of course you're gonna be crafting more this week on tomorrow. Tomorrow live at 10 a.m. I don't know if it's Taylor, it was Susan last week, so I think it's Taylor this week, but I'm not sure. But make sure that you tune in, even if you don't have the advent calendar. Tune in, you can watch what has been opened for the week and then do a crafty project, and it'll inspire you with things that you have in your collection, even if you don't have the advent calendar. But it has definitely been a great calendar this year. So now I don't have sneak peeks for you for next week because we don't really have like a release thing going on. Follow our social media so you can see what's happening next week. And of course, end of the year sales are coming. And of course you need to buy gift cards for all your crafty friends and all of that. So yes, so that needs to happen. That's going to be happening the rest of the week. But I do have, every so often, they ask us to create projects just to kind of refresh the catalog. And so a few of us from the design team have been working on that, and I thought I'd share those projects with you because you're not going to actually see these projects unless you're poking around in the store and notice that a new project has popped up. So, yes, Lori says today's is from the company she works for in there. It is. And it might seem like something that's maybe not like the most exciting thing, but it is one product that I use all the time. So, okay, so this set is the tag treat wrap? I think it's what it's called. So I designed this a few years ago. So here is a new project that I created with that. I created a little, I have to like line up with the camera, baby favors for like a baby shower, or maybe, you know, I'm not even sure what else. A baby shower is some sort of gathering place. Put it at little place settings for a little dinner or something like that. So this is like the vintage, I think it's vintage toys to make the little pull toys or whatever. So this just gives you another idea of what you can do with that little tag treat wrap. You can stick little treats in there, little gifts in there as well. So there's a project with that, little eye candy for you. When I was in design school, I had one professor and he always would start class with eye candy. So he would have like a collection of slides because we weren't so technologically advanced when I was in college, but he would show us slides of art pieces and graphic design pieces and things like that to get us excited about creating. And so I'm doing that for you. This is your eye candy so that you can be excited for creating. So yes, the duckies are so cute. I love that little vintage toy set. It was a good excuse to go back. I think that's what I like about these projects is going back and playing with some of the products I haven't played with for a while. Okay, my next card is, do you remember the A Flutter set? This is a set that has butterflies cascading up. And I did a mini slim, and I also added that Little Bits Butterflies die set in there to have the butterflies kind of fluttering through the stamped ones and adds a little bit of dimension. I just did, it's not super dimensional, but it's a dimensional, like, I just glued in the middle and kind of just bent up the wings just a little bit for a little bit of extra dimension. And this is on a mini slim. You could definitely adapt this for an A2 card as well. So there is another idea for you to use with the A Flutter stamp set. All right, I got two more for you. Okay, I'm gonna save this one for last, it's my favorite. So this one, all right, the names are gonna escape me, but we had when you were in the combo club, if you were in the combo club, there was a house set that came out, and then we released some additional products alongside of it to coordinate. Now the main set will never be available, the main combo club set, but these additional products are in the shop. And so this is a card made with the house dies. I want to say, why is this like escaping my head? How's it going? I want to say maybe is one of them. I'm not sure, but if you look up houses, look up houses on the shop, and this die set, and then there is this cute sentiment set with all sorts of little house sentiments, house themed, like, you know, how's it going? And so very happy for you, for people that have moved into a new house, and that sort of thing. Okay, let me just do arranging. So one more project to share with you. This one is one that is created with the tag pocket die. So we have the die that creates a tag, but it's got a piece that folds up so you can stick things into the pocket. I don't have my one here that is plain, but I had a lot of fun with this to create a cute little birthday tag with this is the I'm a Hugger unicorn, and did a little birthday, and then there's the bow on top from the Take a Bow die collection, but he pops up, look, let's party, and then he can tuck back down. So you could stick him in there and then stick a gift card in there or something like that. So I just trimmed that little hugger down to fit into that. And of course, we have all the cute little huggers that would be perfect to tuck into that little tag pocket die. So there is another cute little birthday idea for you. Thanks, Gail. Time to Go Home was the original name. I went, is that the Combo Club set? No Place Like Home die set. Thank you. From TE. Is that Charlie or Rachel? I don't know. And then How's It Going is maybe the sentiment set. You guys are just like, I can be like, I don't know. And everybody's like, this is what it is. I love that. So there you go. There's your eye candy for today. Gets you all excited for doing some crafting with this cold weather. This is the perfect time to do crafting. I know some of us are working on Christmas crafting projects. I definitely am, but it is nice to get back to some of the everyday stuff. I always need birthday stuff. I always need, things for other occasions. So there you go. There's your eye candy for today. And so let's craft with the cute combo set that we're going to craft with today. So let's flip you down to my desk. This is the card that I created. This is a set I illustrated with the Delicate Daisy stamp set. So you get 2 different types of daisies in this set, a single stem and a double stem, and a few little sentiments. I love this. You belong among the wildflowers. So that is the set one of the sets I illustrated, and here's the card we're going to create today. So we're going to do some OLO coloring, like I mentioned, Lori. And so yeah, so let's do it. Okay. You like that, Valerie, the eye candy start? I could maybe try working that in, and maybe I could pull some of my past projects that maybe people don't remember or something like that. Okay, so we're going to color with OLO markers. I've got those here. So I'm going to stamp my images onto Sugar Cube cardstock because Sugar Cube cardstock works with alcohol markers. There are lots of different cardstock options out there that you can use with OLO markers, but know that if you have Sugar Cube cardstock, you have something that is going to work with OLOs. I also will say, just remember, all cardstocks are not created equal. So some cardstocks, even though they work with the markers, they're going to work a little bit different. So I always say the best thing to do to know how things are going to work is to practice over and over and over again to know what's going to work and what's not going to work. All right, so I'm going to stamp these onto Sugar Cube cardstock with Oreo ink because our Oreo ink is also a compatible with OLO markers. It works with watercoloring and it also works with OLO markers. So it's a very versatile ink pad. All right, so let's stamp this with the Oreo ink onto Sugar Cube cardstock. Now, one thing that you should know is that you need to give this just a little bit of time to dry. Especially if you are coloring with pastel colors. Remember, you need to just be patient. This isn't, especially OLO coloring, it's not a speedy stamping technique. So I actually stamped some earlier, actually yesterday, so that they're ready to go. Like I said, especially with pastel colors, light yellows, light pinks, light peaches, which peach is what we're going to use today. I just find that letting that dry is going to make you much, much happier with your coloring. So make sure you give it some time. You can always hit it with a heat tool as well. Okay, so I'm going to zoom you in a little bit. I do have some colored because I used a lot of daisies. Whenever I'm doing a card like this with OLO or different coloring techniques, I just stamp a whole ton of them and I just color so that I have lots of options to use on my project. I don't want to just color one daisy and then be like, oh, I wish I colored more. I want to make sure I have lots of options. So let's zoom you in here. I'm going to start with the petals on the flower. And I'll show you I have my colors all up on my blog. Hey, Whitney. But I also always, when I'm coloring, ignore this yellow one because I didn't use that, but I'm always making color swatches and writing the color numbers by them so that I can remember what I used on my cards, either if I want to replicate it later, and especially because I'm on the design team, I want to make sure to be able to share those colors with you. So we're going to focus up here. I wanted kind of a pinky peachy color, so I went with these kind of orange peachy colors, OR 2.0, 2.2, and 2.3. And I have mine kind of on the double ends there. So I'm going to start with the lightest color. Now, I know that there's always, quote, rules on how to color, but I'm going to show you how I did the daisy, and it worked for me. So again, it's one of those things where the more coloring you do, the more you're going to know how the coloring works for you as you get to know your tools and supplies. So I'm just going to lay down a base color of that. This is the OR 2.0, so it's a pretty light peachy color. I'm going to do that on the petals. I apologize for the noises. I know you guys maybe remember Hazel the cat. She's not up here, but her other cat buddies that are not so noisy, except when they're making noise over there, clunking things around. Okay, so I'm going to color these petals. So I started with that OR 2.0. I'm going to switch to the next one, which is OR 2.2. And I'm going to do sort of a flick stroke. So what that means is I'm going to put my pen down and then lift up. So it's going to be more saturated color at the bottom of the stroke and lighter at the top. And I'm just going to go around and do that around the flower. These petals are tucked pretty close together, so they're not going to, it's not going to matter because you're not really going to go in between, out of the lines terribly bad anyway. So I'm doing this kind of flick stroke to get kind of this next shade in there. And then I'm going to switch to one other shade, which is the OR 2.3. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to keep these a little bit shorter, more closer to the center. Notice I'm turning my paper. Don't think you have to keep things really smooth and still when you're coloring. Okay, so I've got that light shade, I flicked the medium shade, I flicked the dark shade. I'm going to go back to the medium shade, so that's that 2.2, OR 2.2, and I'm going to flick out again. I went out of the lines, but we're going to die cut this out, so it's not going to be a big deal. So this is going to push some of those darker colors and blend with those medium colors, doing the same flicking kind of stroke out on the flower. Make sure I'm staying in the screen. And then I'm going to end with the 2.0 again, and I'm just going to kind of get just the ends of those petals again, just to kind of smooth things out. It kind of, I guess to me, it feels like I'm building the color. And I want this pastel look, but I definitely want a little bit more of a striking effect. And so that's why I'm using the 3 shades, and that's why it made sense to color it the way that I did, to me. So you could try this with other shades of color to get those petals like that. Okay, so let's do it one more time on this one here. We're going to color these 2 daisies. So again, I'm going to start with the 2.0, and I'm just going to lay down the base color first. Actually, I'm going to do both of these flowers while I am here. Color that base color in. And then I'm going to go to that 2.2, and I'm doing that flicking to get the color, medium color, kind of spread out onto the petals. Remember, I'm kind of lifting my marker up as I do the little marker stroke so that it's more saturated color at the beginning of the stroke and then heavier at the end. And then I'm going to switch to that darker color, which is that orangier color. I'm doing shorter little flicks out from the center. And that's the beauty of the alcohol inks, is how they blend with each other. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that medium color. I'll get back to this flower in a second. I'm just kind of flicking up again over that dark tone. And then going back to that 2.0 and catching the ends of those petals just to kind of even out the color. And don't forget too, what you're seeing right now too, you need to give that color a little time to dry, because it definitely changes the appearance when you let it dry. I mean, you can already see there's a little bit of a difference in that one. Okay, so let's do this one here. So I need to get my 2.2 to go out from those petals. There. And then I need my darker color. Thank you, Miss Lori. I'm going to switch back to my medium color. Oop. There's a kitty meowing again. Not as bad as Miss Hazel. Okay, then I'm going to end up with that 2.0 just to even out the ends of those petals. She just would like me to pick her up and hold her, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so there's my petals on all of my flowers. So let's make sure I get the caps back on. If you didn't know, the colors are listed on the sides, so you don't have to be like, was that the lighter one or the darker one? You can match the colors up there. Okay, so let's do the centers of the flowers, and I'm going to start off. The centers are going to be these bottom colors, the 2.3, 2.5, and 2.7 YO. So I'm starting with the 2.3, and I'm literally just coloring that in with the 2.3 first on all of the flowers. And I have some color overlap, and it's okay. It will kind of move the color out of the way, if that makes sense. And then I've got 2.5 and 2.7, and I'm actually gonna, you know what, I'm gonna wait just a second, and we're gonna do the leaves, because I'm gonna let the center color dry a little bit, because then I'm not gonna have so much blending happening, if that makes sense. If I color right on top of the color, it's gonna do more immediate blending. If I let it sit for a little bit, I can get more definition with some of my blending, if that's what you're going for. And that is what I'm going for these flower centers. Let me show you just a little bit close up on this one. See, I've got some little dotting happening in there. If I do it while the markers are still kind of, quote, wet, they dry really fast, but there's still that time when they're wet. Then I'm gonna get more definition in some of my dotting, if that makes sense. Yes, 100% on the melding time. Okay, so my leaves were kind of a happy accident. So I ended up using YG 8.3 and YG 2.5, and one is kind of that muted green. This is a color I gravitate towards quite a bit. And I just thought the other color was on the other end, like the 8.5 or something, and so I had colored in, and no, on my marker I've got YG 2.5 on the end of this one. And so I got kind of this yellowish green tone. But I ended up really liking it. I ended up really liking the color that it added to the leaf, and how it blended together. And so I just call that a happy accident. So it doesn't follow your blending formula, but this is one of those times where you can play and experiment, and you come up with some things that maybe wouldn't have happened if you, I don't know, didn't make a mistake, I guess, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start with the 8.3. And I'm going to color in the leaf. Actually, I can do all of them. So I'm just putting down that base color again. And then we've got the YG 2.5, and I'm literally just going to flick up a couple strokes, like one stroke on the leaves and a couple on the bigger leaves. And honestly, you can kind of just leave it like that, but if you wanted to just kind of, you know, have them blend a little bit more, you can push it with that first color, that YG 8.3. But I just loved that touch of kind of yellow-green at the leaves. I think it just really kind of, with the yellow in the center of the flower and everything, just it just worked. Okay, so let's do that again on these here. So I'm laying down that 8.3. And these are things like, if you keep a sketchbook, or I know there's the book about videos, writing down some of these color combos, so then later when you're coloring with flowers, you can be like, what did she do? Or what's an idea of what colors would work together to do a leaf, or something like that. Good 411 on the markers? Awesome. I'm glad you're happy. I am happy to share. Okay, so I again put that YG 2.5. And blended those leaves. Okay, so there's what we got there. So let's go back to the YO 2.5. We're going back to those flower centers. So I'm going to take the 2.5 and I'm going to take the, what's the other one down here? 2.7. I'm going to start with the 2.5 and I'm just going to kind of dot around the edges. The first color is very close to what the center is, and so I'm really just adding kind of a little bit of shading in there. And don't think you have to be like someone that's super blendy and precise. Dots are so much fun to do. I don't know if you guys saw my turtle card, but I had so much fun. I have an extra turtle here. Creating little polka dotties on his back to create texture, but also helps with some of the shading that I wanted on there and the effect that I wanted. So super fun to do. So if in doubt on things, try some polka dots and see what you can come with. Lori Craig shared this, I think it was at a virtual Stamp Joy a couple of years ago, maybe it was only a year ago. And boy, that opened up a whole new kind of technique for me with using with markers and playing with the polka dotting. Okay, so let's do the darker color, which is the 2.7. And I'm going to add the few dots in there for the center. And if you feel like things are too intense, we can always go back with that medium color and kind of soften what you just put in there. I'm flipping it over here and I'm just dabbing that medium tone in there. That kind of helps mix up some of the color, tone down some of the dots. I could sit and play with this for forever. Little dotty dot shading. All right, let's put the right caps back on. So 2.5 and 2.7. And 2, if you feel like this is too dark, if I go back to my original color and just kind of dab that in there too, it's actually going to lift and add that brighter color back in again too. That is the fun thing about alcohol inks, is they move and interact with each other so much, not so much, but enough that you can just really play with moving the color around. And I think that's one thing to keep in mind. This, when you're layering colors, it's actually moving color around and blending color around. And if you keep that in your head versus that it's just colored and it stayed, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, like watercolors flow with water. These alcohol inks flow with each other with the alcohol stuff. And it dries pretty quickly, but it does that smooth, beautiful blend. You need to see that sea turtle closer. I actually have a couple of them, Lori. All right, so now let me zoom you back out again. Let's cut out our flowers with the coordinating dies. I gotta flip this way so my handle is the right direction. And I have a few more colored because on my card I used one of the double stems and 2 of the singles. So instead of making you watch me color 1,000 flowers, I thought I would just color a few extras so we were ready to go. Okay, get that plate out of there. Got some removable tape. I'm a little worried about this whole removable tape situation. They stopped making it. So I am trying to be like super frugal with my Scotch removable tape. Okay, I'm gonna tape that down. Got the single flower here. Very easy to line up. Tanya, you say the markers intimidate you. All I can tell you is that you have to practice and you have to just make all the mistakes and throw lots away. I throw lots away. It's just paper, so if you mess up the flower, you stamp another flower on another piece of paper. So just keep that in mind when you are especially trying new techniques and things like that. That you're supposed to make a bunch of mistakes. You're supposed to throw a lot of stuff away to get better at doing the things. Okay, so I'm going to cut out one more of the straight flowers to use for my card off my other cardstock piece. And start small. Like pick, when I first bought alcohol markers, what I did was I thought about the colors that I used and I kind of went like rainbow. So I picked out blending pairs in each kind of color of the rainbow. So I picked out 2 reds, I picked out 2 oranges, I picked out, you know, and down from there. And as I started coloring, then I would be like, oh, I really could use pinks because I really didn't get pinks the first time. So then I would get pinks. And then I was coloring some little people and I needed some skin tones and some hair tones. And so then I added to that way. So you don't have to start big. You can start little by little. I'm going to cut this one out since I'm right here. And step by step. And there's so many classes that we have through TE and options for different projects. You know, we do the virtual and then even in our in-person we do the OLO things. And so you get a couple of the colors so you can start trying and seeing how they work and how you like them. Ooh, Sarah, you said you with your magnetic platform use less tape to hold things in place. I have seen the magnetic platform. I'll tell you guys a little, this might be a TMI thing, but it's not really TMI. My husband has a pacemaker, and so we can't have really strong magnets in our house because it interferes with that. So I can't do the magnetic platform because it actually does say on the box, if you have a pacemaker, you should not be using this or be near this. So I have to use the tape. I have magnet things, but that's a big magnet to hold things in place. Okay, I have one more thing to cut out, but we're gonna do that in a little bit. We're gonna create the background for our card next. So I'm gonna get the stamps out of there. So the background of my card, I'm actually gonna stamp a couple of times. The first time I'm going to stamp it with the Midnight Blooms background stamp. I think this was originally a free gift with purchase, and now you can get it in the shop. So I'm going to set that into my Misty. I'm actually going to need my bigger Misty here. I wasn't even thinking about that. So I'm going to set that in here. Now I'm doing a mini slim card. And this one doesn't quite totally fit on that stamp, but I'm going to be cutting it out with a die. So I'm just going to get it as close as I can. Put a little tape down. So I'm setting it on the stamp so I can maximize where my image is going to stamp. And then transferring it. So I'm using Peaches and Cream. This is not a typical color for me. But I think because when I was doing the coloring with the peachy flowers, when I was looking at what cardstock would really go nicely with it, this peaches and cream was great with the color combination that I used. So like I said, 2026, it is got to be like the year of new colors for me. That is going to be my stamping goal. You guys can hold me to it. So peaches and cream, this color's been around for a long time. It's just not a color I gravitate towards. I probably pull it out sometimes when there's baby projects or different things like that because it's that pastel color. But then other than that, it's not one that I grab for. It's not a cardstock color I grab for. I've used it off and on throughout the years, but it is probably one of my more least used colors. Okay, I'm going to stamp again so I get more of a crisp image. Giving a little bit of oomph with my arm there to get that coverage. Sometimes I'll just hit it with my palm of my hand too. I don't need this to be super perfect in the background. We're going to layer some other color on top of it. So there we go. So not quite the whole piece, but like I said, we're going to cut this. We're going to cut this down. All right, I'm going to grab my bigger Misty, and I'm going to apologize because I didn't switch out my backing paper, so you guys are going to have to just look at my messy backing paper because I'm going to stamp over the top of this with the Fineline script stamp, which is a 6x6 stamp, so it won't fit into that tiny Misty. So let's set that in here. This time I want to make sure the script is running because I'm having my card horizontal, so make sure you think about these things. I have another piece stamped here that I originally was thinking maybe I'd do an A2 card, vertical, so I have the words going this way, because at first I was like, oh, I can just cut this down. That's not going to work for a horizontal card. So make sure you pay attention to how you want your script to go. Thankfully, the 6x6 stamps are perfect for that. So I'm just going to lay that across there so that I can line that up. I've already got some tape. Maybe I'll do one more sticky in there. I'm closing the back of my Misty to pick that up. And I'm stamping over the top with sugar cube ink. Oh yeah, peaches and cream plays well with papaya, persimmon, and guava. I'm gonna have to play. I think maybe that's part of it too. Papaya and persimmon came out, and I really love both of those colors. And papaya is definitely a peachy color, and so maybe that's why peaches and cream kind of like jumped onto my radar the last few weeks. I don't know. Although papaya and persimmon have been around for a little bit. So I've stamped once. So my white ink pad, I don't keep it super heavily inked. I like to build up the color little by little. So I keep it on the drier side and refill as needed. If it's too wet and gloppy, it's just going to be kind of a mess when you're stamping. So I'd rather do multiple impressions. Right there you can already see I've got a really nice impression. I'm gonna do one more. I love the idea of being able to layer some different background things together. The other one that would be, so there's the typewriter kind of script background, but even like the linen background to add that kind of texture over the top of some different images. Okay, I think I am awesome with this, like that. And why don't we add some splatters? Because why not? So I like to use, I know many of you know what I like to use, but if you're new here, I've got a water brush. We don't sell this one at TE, but it's the Faber-Castell one. I don't know if I'm saying that right, But I like to start with Chocolate Truffle Liquid Watercolor. I've got that on this mini glass palette, glass mat. And there's enough on there, I'm just picking it up with my water brush and reactivating it. I'm gonna tap that over my finger to add the splatters to the flowers and to that background. I love things rustic and muted. So there is that color, and I'm just going to use a paper towel to wash that out of my brush. And then I like to add a layer of the white splatters. And I'm using Dr. P.H. Morton's Bleed Proof White ink. My colors are drying out a little bit, but you can always reactivate this with water. So I'm picking that up, and I like to just kind of work it on the lid. You can work this on like another glass mat or something. This lid works for me, so do whatever works the best for you. And again, I'm just going to tap over my finger to add the splatters to the flowers and to the background. Okay. Clean that out. You can, of course, use a regular brush with water. Get that cleaned out of my brush. All right, let me pick up these pieces. Use my little craft pick to pick those up without kind of smudging and smearing. I immediately just flipped it upside down. Okay, let me clean off my desk here. Get my lid back on. And like I said, we're going to die cut this background now, so we're going to do that one more time, and then we'll be able to put our card together. So let's grab my die cut machine one more time. And I'm going to cut this out with a scalloped. So this lovely scallop, which I am so excited about this, is from the, I believe this is the Mini Slim All Planned Out 2 set. If anything, get it for this scallop, because this makes the whole set. I mean, you know, these little rectangles are great. It all lines up and matches. So yes, everything is awesome. And all the flowers that we did for the gift with purchase this year fit perfectly, all of that. But this is the piece. This is the die. I think there'll be a moment when Taylor's like, quit using that. Although, why would she even say that? Okay, I'm just going to lay a paper towel just to catch the extra moisture off of that before I send it through my die cut machine. Everything dries fairly quickly when you splatter. Okay, I'm going to make sure that my scallops are catching the whole design. I think I am very close, so if I miss a tiny bit, it's with all of the detail on the edges, it's not going to be a huge deal. So there is that layer there. Then let's look at the sentiments in the set. I'm going to grab my Misty out again. Use my mini Misty for this. Because I stamped the sentiment right onto the background. So you can definitely stamp it and cut it out on sugar cube cardstock. In fact, if you stamp it on your background and you mess up, if you cover that with a die cut, nobody knows you did that. So, little tip for you there. So I am going to arrange the flowers, but I'm going to stamp the sentiment first so I can kind of lay the flowers kind of around my sentiment. So I used Love You. There are 3 sentiments in this set: Love You, Hello, and You Belong Among the Wild Flowers. I'm going to go for the Love You again. So let's just kind of eyeball where I want that to go. And I just want to make sure it's straight, so I am flipping it around to look at the grid, like to lay it on top of this part of my glass mat, because then I can kind of see the grid on the Misty better. Feeling good about that. And we'll stamp this with Nocturne VersaFine Clair. Oop, all planned out mini slam 2 is add to cart, I see. There's my little love you. When you stamp with the Nocturne VersaFine Clair, you don't need a lot of pressure on your stamp. If you push too hard, you're going to get more smearing. Just a light kind of tap. I don't really even use the press tool when I'm doing with Nocturne. Okay, so we're going to take our daisies that we cut out here. Let's see, I had 2 this way and 1 this way. This is where it takes all the time. And I'm going to even overlap some because I want some of that dimension. So I'm feeling good about there. Okay. So I'm going to point out something that I'm noticing here, and maybe you're noticing too. This is the card I made for the release, and this is the flowers that we colored just now, and they definitely look darker, don't they? This is the Express It blending card, and this is the Sugar Cube cardstock. So remember when I said that cardstock kind of does a little bit different things? They work with the OLO markers, the alcohol markers, just fine, but every cardstock is going to be a little bit different. So how the colors appeared on the Express It blending card are different than how they appeared on the Sugar Cube. Still beautiful, still look really, really nice, but these are definitely a little bit lighter. And it's just a different cardstock. I don't think this is in stock in the store anymore, which is why I did the Sugar Cube for the video today. Oh, I'm sorry, Nina would like to say hi. We're still crafting, so you're gonna have to go find something to do. Okay, so to stick these down, I'm going to add foam adhesive behind the top part of the flower, but regular adhesive, so it's going to sit like popped up but flat, which then that makes it easier to trim at the bottom of the card. So I'm just going to cut some kind of squares for the top part of the flower. And then just run my tape runner right side up, right, onto the bottom part. So I'm thinking, looking at this leaf right here too, kind of going off the bottom. So I'm going to trim that leaf kind of even with the stem, so that it's easier to trim off when I'm ready to do that. And I'm watching my sentiment, so I'm not sticking things right on top of my sentiment. Okay, so this one, we're gonna put some foam on the tops of both flowers. Oop. Tiffany, you're asking about the plain stitched mini some stacklets. Yep, but never fear. That's all I'm going to say. Never fear. We know that they're not in stock, and it's okay because it's okay. Okay, so our double flowers, I'm going to go right about there. Oh, and I didn't put my adhesive down at the bottom. And of course it's stuck. It's once those foam adhesives stick, they stick. So there we go. Do that. And one more. think I want to trim the leaf on this one too, so trim that one more time. That's just really literally going to help me for trimming at the bottom. And I didn't peel the tape off the back. Like, it's not sticking. Then we're going to trim these little pieces. And I like to just flip it over to the back, and I'm just trimming right up to the edge of that. So there's that. All right, let me get rid of my little garbage pieces, and then we will do the next part. I have a piece of Latte cardstock that we're going to add this to. And I'm going to pop that up with some foam adhesive. I mean, you could do it on the toffee too, but I do like how Latte just kind of, that darker shade just sets it off. This is works too, but this has just got a pop to it that's very nice. These are those 1x3 thin foam strips again. I think I'm just going to use 3 on the back of here. And we're just going to center that on there. It's feeling pretty good right there. I like putting it on a panel first before adding it to the card base, just because I'm not, if I mess up, which I do, I'm not wrecking a whole card base, I'm just wrecking a panel of cardstock, if that makes sense. And the final step, we're going to add, of course, some little sparklies on there. And my favorite is Bits and Pieces Glossy White Rhinestones. And I'm just going to get a couple to kind of sprinkle across. And I'm just going to use the little ones. So like if you have the tiny diamonds too, this would be another, that would be another one that would work really well to kind of scatter across the flowers. I love scattering little dots across the flowers, whether it's a gem or, you know, anything sparkly. I'm going to set them into place first. And I'm actually literally copying where I set the gems on my other card. This is one of those things where it can take me a while to kind of set everything on and get it into place. And let's hear it down. I've got my little pick and place tool, my liquid adhesive. I like multimedia matte. That's my personal preference. And one more. There we go. There is our completed card. with that Delicate Daisy set that was part of the Cute Combos release this week. This is one I illustrated if you missed that. I think I said it a few times. So get it while you can. It'll be in the collection. So if it sells out, we're going to get it back in. No worries. So let me flip you guys up to the top. Whew. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you, it looks like my whole screen just kind of tipped there. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be back and crafting with you. I hope you've had a great time crafting along with me with the Delicate Daisy set and having fun with OLO markers today. So thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. Stay warm, especially up here in the Midwest in Minnesota. It's going to be a cold weekend, a great weekend for crafting. So thanks again,